What is going on, everyone? It's your guy Cole Jackson back here on Road Graders, and today we are going to continue going through some of these wide receiver prospects by diving into Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of the University of Texas by way of the University of Georgia, a transfer last year from Texas, so returned back to his state. I believe his reasoning when he was interviewed about it, he said he basically wanted to be closer to his family, closer to his 2-year-old daughter. So he transferred from Georgia to Texas, and it's just a very toolsy prospect. You guys are going to hear me talk about the traits a ton throughout this video because they are very high level, and a lot of that, it's interesting because it doesn't quite have the production that matches. He's a much better player than what his stats would tell you. Diving into some of the advanced statistics, just to give you kind of high level. So he had 55 catches for 845 yards this year. That's a 15.4 average, 11 touchdowns. But then over his last 2 years, he was hurt in 2022, but over the last 2 years at Georgia, he still only had a total of 38 catches, 570-ish yards and 7 touchdowns. So high touchdown output, which is really interesting. We'll talk a little bit about that. But when you dive into his advanced stats from this season, this is just 23, some very encouraging things. One drop on the year, 1.8% drop rate, very sure-handed. We'll talk a little bit about the lack of yards after the catch. You can see it in his yak per reception, which is only 3.2, one of the worst in this class. Doesn't force a lot of missed tackles. His average depth of target, 16 yards. We'll talk about that a lot because that's where he really does shine, pushing the ball downfield. 8 deep catches, 302 yards, some of the best in the country. And one thing that I always like to see is not a lot of screen production. And I know sometimes it's good to have players that can produce off screens, but a lot of college football wide receivers can be inflated by those screen numbers, and then also a low number of contested catches. So we'll go through the film, and you guys will see me tying back to this, but a lot of what you're looking at throughout his advanced data shows up in his tape. Doesn't drop the ball, doesn't get a lot of contested catches, doesn't get a lot of yak, very good downfield. So a lot of things that you'll see on film show up in his stats, which I found very interesting. When you look at how he compares to the rest of the class, he's going to be right here in the middle. So you can see his yak per reception. It's actually the worst in the draft class. And again, I think that's very clear when you watch him. He's not going to be that type of yak guy. High output of first downs per target, but lower on the reception or receiving yards per game and yards per route run. So I referred to it about his Alabama game, which this is some of the clips are from that game. A lot of cardio in that one. He actually ended up producing a pretty good stat line, but he didn't have a catch through the first half. So it was just, there's a lot of plays where he's not being targeted, was showing a little bit of visible frustration, which I think we can talk about a little bit at the end. It's something that, pundits are talking about now with some of the concerns. Is he going to be able to go to an offense where he's not the focal point, and, is he taking plays off and that sort of thing? That's kind of being discussed about him. When we look at the advanced stats, you got on the y-axis, you got yards per route run, and on the x-axis, you got EPA per route. He's down here. We looked at Keon Coleman a couple weeks ago. He was right in this area somewhere. But, a lot of this draft class is in this bottom left, which is not, basically they're not producing at a very efficient level. But then you look at some of the names around here, like you got Zay Flowers right there, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, some guys that have been obviously very, very productive in the league. So not necessarily an indictment of just the receiver, because some of this is offensive related, especially when we saw like a guy like Zay Flowers, saw what he looked like when he transitioned into the league. But, he is in this lower area, a little bit higher up on the EPA per route run, which is good to see, but not a lot of yards per route run, one of the worst in the class. When you look at his RAS, this is where his athletic ability shows up on tape. He's very explosive. He's very fast. And one thing that we're going to talk about a little bit, which I found interesting, so he had a lower relative to the other two numbers, but he had a little bit lower on his 10-yard, but his 20-yard split. So that 10 to 20-yard acceleration and then going through the 40 was really high level, and we'll see that here in the first couple of plays. Let's get right into it. So just for kind of context, when I talk about neutral speed, what I'm referring to is where he's running, but he hasn't quite kicked it into the high gear, and he hasn't quite kicked it back into low gear. So when I say someone's running at neutral speed, it's basically just moving downfield, and what I'm referring to in his case is because I think that's the best ability that you're going to see from him. His ability to move at neutral speed and set up routes down the field. Routes? Everyone keeps getting mad at me in the comments. I'll try and say routes properly. I always say routes. Deal with it. You'll kind of see it where he's able to use some jab steps, use some head fakes, but also the way he pulls away. So going from neutral to that high level speed. So you're going to see it right here on this first play, bottom of your screen. So he's going to go up there, he's going to take a jab step, and then he's just kind of accelerating past the DB. So, that is just kind of the ability to go deep, good transition, able to drop his hips through the route and gain that separation. And then you see it come to fruition here. So he's going to get a corner that's going to play off him. He's going to press him upfield, and then there's that ability to just make a jab step and accelerate in for a touchdown. So this is definitely the best trait of his game, is this deep route running ability. But just, that is just a thing of beauty. You got the safety trying to hold him inside the sticks, and just that ability to press that foot in and then hit his next gear, and he's gone. Good track on the ball there. Good enough to bring it in. You're going to see it again here. Oh, wait, no, this is... Okay, so that's kind of his ability to work deep, but then the way he's able to... Again, you're going to see him work neutral speed through here, and then he's going to be able to turn the DB, turn the safety, move him upfield, and then come back. Create that separation. You're going to see it again here. He's going to work upfield. There's that neutral speed going through, and then he's going to work back, work into the empty space, catch the ball, and get a little bit of space. So that ability to just kind of glide at neutral speed and set up route running is just what I think is the strongest aspect of his game. He's going to run through a little bit of contact there, but then his ability to stop on a dime after he's got the speed that'll kind of force DBs to sag off of him, but he's got enough flexibility and enough footwork, quickness, all that good stuff to kind of come back to the ball, which makes him not just a deep threat. He can also, work a lot of routes off that, deep curls, digs, comebacks, posts, those sorts of things, especially deep crossers. That's where he's been really solid on some of these plays. This one you're going to get right here. Nice catch. Catches with his hands really clean. So again, he's going to press upfield, playing against zone here. And just his ability to stick that foot, accelerate, work underneath, really high level stuff. But to me, it's all about, I'm going to keep saying it, it's all about his ability to neutral speed and then upshift gear and downshift out of that. And it's something we talked about a lot with Zay Flowers last year. He basically would coast out there, and then when he needed to take a cut, needed to push it deeper, he just had that next gear ability, whether it was moving forward or, planting his foot and cutting backwards. He was able to, do that so seamlessly and be explosive out of his step. Zay is obviously a little bit different of a mover because he's a smaller guy. Adonai Mitchell came in at 6'2", so just a lot different body type, but similar aspect in terms of how he can run routes at the next level. You see it right here again. Just that nice, seamless ability. He's gliding. He's not, wasting a lot of steps in his cuts as he's doing this. He just dips that hip. You can see that inside hip as he plants his inside foot here. You can see it in. And he's just going to curl. And he basically runs these almost like he's 3 inches shorter. So right there, just so seamless. And the ability to do that, it gains an extra yard of separation basically because he doesn't have to turn like a Mack truck. He's just able to glide into these. So really good stuff there. He's on the top part of the field on this one. This one I just wanted to show it was a contested catch I did find. So, he does have them, but I wouldn't say a lot. That was one of the 4 he was charted with this year. Some of his route running in the red zone as well. Really shows his quickness. This isn't just, I think he'll kind of get the tag a little bit of being a deep threat kind of guy, but just watch what he's able to do with his route running in the red zone. So he's going to press inside into the safety, and then again, that quick seamless cut outside. So he's going to press right into the safety, basically force the safety to work backwards a little bit instead of cutting into this area, and then he's just going to break off. And again, watch how seamless this is. Boom. The explosiveness out of it, the timing, perfect. Here you're going to get him on just a quick slant. He's going to be ISO'd a little bit on the wide side of the field there on the far hash mark, and then boom. You know, this is stuff you see from high-level wide receivers. So he's going to get a little soft shoe from the corner. He's going to line up and press, sag off of him, and that release right there. So he's going to come up, he's going to square up, dip that left foot, and just explode through it. So, you know, just shows really unique ability, really good route running, all three levels. This was a play I tweeted last night. So this is an RPO. So you got the run action to the right. So it's basically, he's reading this. You got the play action here. So Adonai Mitchell is running a route, but he's unlikely to get the ball because basically option one is going to be, you know, handing it off to the running back, and option two, where the first read is going to be to the other side of the field. Now he doesn't have time to work back across the field because the O-line's out run blocking. So you're going to see Adonai Mitchell. I picked this because of his release. I thought it was funny because you see he's going to come out, he's going to square up, and he's going to force the corner, who's basically just got his ankles taken, and he's going to spin out this way. As he does, watch Adonai Mitchell's right hand right here. He's going to just point, and he's just saying, I got you. I got you. So he doesn't have a chance of getting the ball because, again, he's kind of that weak side option that that wasn't going to get the ball, but just had to show the release, that quickness in his first couple of steps. His ability to do that at 6'2", really impressive. Now, here we'll kind of look at some of the areas where I wasn't overly pleased with his game. So he's going to run a short drag route here, and he's going to take a little contact from the linebacker. I felt that when he had to play through contact, play with physicality, I found he was a little bit on the softer side. So he's going to drag across here, and, you know, he just doesn't... So he's going to come across on the drag. He's basically running a mesh right here. So he's cutting this way. You got the over there. And he feels that linebacker there, and Ewers does throw it. At least it looks like he's throwing to him. And it's almost like he knows that linebacker's there, and he just doesn't really attack the ball. And that's something that I noticed on some of these deep contested catch throws. So you're going to see it here. He's going to do that thing where he's going to press. Safety's way off of him. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a... What is that? 55-yard throw, but he doesn't quite go up for the ball. You don't see him trying to high point it. You know, I was wondering if he had a difficult time tracking the ball, or if it's, you know, that ability to go up. So I grabbed the other angle too, just so you guys could see it. Here, let's just pause it and move ahead to the catch point. So ball's up in the air. So there he is, and you can see at one point he's not looking right there. Like, he's kind of looking forward. And then he looks back up to the ball, and, you know, he's just not getting up for it. Now, that is, obviously, that's a deep ball. I don't expect him to be, you know, down there necessarily, you know, getting his best vert on. But just kind of the lack of willingness to attack it. Didn't love safety coming over top of him. Safety made a good play here. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'm trying not to be too hard on this play because it was such a deep throw. But just wondered about that kind of ball tracking ability. You're going to see it here as well. So, you know, look at that route. So he's going to run that kind of sluggo. So he does the fake there. Safety commits. He's going to move right past him. But as he does, takes a little bit of contact there. He's looking back up to track the ball, and he's going to fall down a little bit as he tried to work to his left. So, you know, part of this was inaccurate pass where he's got to, you know, bend, but also just kind of looked away again. And, you know, I was kind of wondering, is this an issue with tracking the ball? You see him trying to play through physicality. So those are kind of the two things where I was catching myself a little bit on the worried side, kind of that deep ball contested catch ability if he's not gaining tremendous separation. But as we saw, he's so darn good at separating from corners. So, that's really what I got on Adonai Mitchell. This is a player that I'm going to be much higher on than the consensus, I think. I think he's going to be in that wide receiver 4-5. It really depends where you land on him and Brian Thomas. The other three have kind of separated themselves, but I understand some of the concerns with the production, and I know people want to see that production, but the traits are so high level. I think he's the kind of guy that's going to separate at all three levels because of his explosive footwork, and his ability to work from a neutral speed into his top gear or to work back to the ball. It just lends itself to really prolific route running. So I think if you're looking for a guy that's going to separate at all three levels, which I think that pairs really well with what the Ravens are looking for, this would be a good foot in this offense. He's not going to be that big-bodied contested catch. He's just not that player. He's more of a finesse separator. So it really depends on what flavor you're looking for, but that's really what I see from him. Very intriguing prospect. So looking forward to all the comments. Drop a like on this video if you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Let me know who you're looking for next in the comments below. And as always, please hit subscribe. It means a lot to me. We're going to keep these videos coming. So be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.